I mean, as I say, Rangers fans are by and large buzzing, but there's not everyone convinced by it. Williams says, I'm not convinced by Muscat. He was sacked after 14 games during which the team struggled and finished this season in a relegation battle in Belgium. But Kylo says, Gerrard done us a big favour on Saturday. We're getting the right man in. James says, I can happily wait a month if it means somebody who wins championships is coming in. Rich says, send Giga, Moore and Aarons back to their clubs. They haven't worked out and they haven't been improvement on what we had. Haining says, the season can still be salvaged if we get a run because Celtic will drop points. And Gary says, if Muscat wins the league, he'd be up there with the best managers. I mean, I guess stripping it all back, guys, or Scott, do you think Rangers have got the right man?
Me personally, no, because I said right from the start, I thought Derek McInnes was an outstanding candidate for the job, and they still went and tried to make that happen. I know it would have had its difficulties, but I think they could have done that. I think he's the best guy for the job. If I'm being honest, I think the likes of, I think Gerrard would have been up there. Gerrard, I know one of the callers mentioned Frank Lampard there as well. I think these guys would have probably been just ahead of Kevin Muscat, but he does tick boxes. No, that experience he had as a player at Rangers will definitely help him. He was part of a successful team, albeit only for one season. I think he has got the kind of character and personality. I think he has a figurehead of a club, which Rangers really need at the minute. He's no nonsense. I don't think he suffers fools gladly. So again, I think Rangers need a character like that. And he's obviously won titles. I mean, I caveat that by saying Philippe Clement had won titles when he came in at Rangers, and ultimately wasn't the answer. So there's no guarantees just because he's won titles in Japan, Australia, and China that he's going to come over here and be successful. But I think it could be a decent appointment for the club. I don't think it's a bad appointment at all. But as I said, it's just I think supporters will just be frustrated that for the second season running, I mean, Jack was essentially saying there, this season league-wise pretty much is gone, and that's the second season running that's happened. No, when it's the league campaign's pretty much been over. Within a few months, and for a club Rangers size and stature, that's not acceptable, and that's been due to really bad decision making. I know it was a different regime, obviously, a year, 18 months ago, but bad decision making at the top of the club has left them in this position again, where we're sitting here saying, in October that we don't think Rangers can win the league. That's just not good enough.
I think that look, time will tell, because you can never be certain of any appointment. But all I would say about Kevin Muscat is I remember thinking 2 years ago that Rangers picked the wrong one, and when they were interviewing Clement, Lampard, and Muscat. For me, Muscat was the guy that I felt would have been more suited to the role. And I say that, yes, Scott's absolutely right. People pointed to championships that Philippe Clement had won in Belgium, but sometimes you just get a feel for the character of the people. And when I say that, I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with Philippe Clement's character, but I just felt that he was walking in. There was a danger that he was always walking into the wrong movie. This was a guy that struggled to deal with the pressures of being in charge in Monaco. Now, I'm telling you now, there is no pressure involved in being the manager of Monaco, apart from who's paying for the gin and tonics at the end of the night. That's about as pressurised as the situation comes over there. There's no supporters to speak of. There's no great rivalries with anybody. It's just to come and have a nice time and don't pay any tax. And somehow he struggled with that because it was seen as a step up into the French league. And I always felt there was a question mark over whether or not he'd be able to cope with the intensity in Glasgow. And actually, I think you saw the man unravel throughout the period. The stress was too much. It was too much for him to process, too much for him to stay in control of. His behaviour became more and more erratic. And he was a fish out of water in Scottish football. And I'm sure that Philippe Clement probably go back to Belgium or someplace else and do fine. But for me, I always had a big question mark over whether or not he was going to be mentally strong enough to handle this mad little world that we've created for ourselves here. And you can't blame, that's nobody else's fault. Because we're an unusual place. This is an auditorium, what we've created here in Scotland and in the west of Scotland in particular. I just worried from the start with Philip Clement. I wasn't sure he was going to be able to adapt it or be cut out for it. Even though he had very good credentials. I think there was also strong suggestions towards the end of his time, and it was a short time in Monaco, that he was facing a bit of a player revolt as well. And you know, these are never encouraging signs. Now, for me, Muscat, obviously his experience, his best experience, his titles have been won in places that you would ordinarily look at and question, well, how good are these leagues? None of us can claim to sit here, say, oh yeah, I watch the J League every week, so it's a real good standard. We don't know. But what we can base it on is Ange Postecoglou came from these places and did a terrific job over here. But more than that, so I think the coaching credentials, the CV, everything you're looking for in terms of this is a guy that's won 3 titles in 3 different countries, 3 different clubs. That is all big ticks in the box, as Scott said. But I think it's a personality thing. I think that Kevin Muscat, he's been here, he knows what this is all about over here, but I don't think he just enjoyed it. I know he was only here for 1 season, played 22 games, but the guy he thrived on it to such an extent that he's never managed to get it out of his system. He's been desperate to get back into it. He knows what's involved, he knows the pressures involved, he knows the madness of it all, and I think he cannot wait to get here, even though he's going to have to. And I think that just in terms of personality, I think his personality is more suited to going into this hotbed and dealing with it and taking it on and confronting it. And I say all that because obviously I think anybody that remembers Kevin Muscat, if you're old enough to remember Kevin Muscat as a player, as I am, it was frightening. He was terrifying. And it was more than just aggressive and a hard guy. There was a viciousness to the way that he played. Some of his tackles were just horror stories, real X-rated stuff.
Wild.
He's not like that as a guy. He is the complete opposite of what you would imagine him to be as a guy. He's actually quite intelligent. He's funny. He's charming. And I feel that he's got the inner belief and confidence which will allow him. He won't be fazed by any of this. And sometimes you see managers coming in and getting fazed, getting rattled, and starting to discombobulate mentally. That is an issue that I don't think you'll see with Kevin Muscat.
And the other thing, Jacko, which I think is a positive, I don't know if you heard Mark Bosnich speak about Muscat today, but he obviously compared him to Ange Postecoglou. He talked about how he's a disciple of Postecoglou, having worked with him. The key thing he said was he's more adaptable than Ange. He's willing he's willing to sacrifice his football principles when he has to in order to get results. And that should be music to the ears of Rangers fans, because that's what they need at this moment in time.